Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're running a deep system diagnostic on literally the most complex machine in the known universe. Yep, the human mind. We're going to get right to the very core of human behavior to decode the architecture of personality. Let's dive right into what I like to call the ultimate system query. What makes you uniquely you? You know, we all constantly observe and categorize our friends and family, right? But scientifically pinning down individuality? Well, that's actually been one of the greatest challenges in the history of psychology.
Now, the crucial distinction we need to make right off the bat is that personality isn't just a passing mood. It's defined as your consistent patterns of feeling, thinking, and behaving. Think of it as the underlying operating system driving how you respond to life. And decoding this code, it can actually help us predict future actions.
Our diagnostic menu for today scans through 5 modules: legacy hardware theories, core processing, humanistic upgrades, algorithmic traits, and finally, the genetic source code.
Starting right off with Module 1, Legacy Hardware Diagnostics, Early Physical Theories.
Let's look at some of those deeply flawed version 1.0 attempts to read the human system. Take phrenology, developed by a German physician named Franz Joseph Gall. He actually thought he could measure your exact character just by feeling the physical bumps on your skull. And people took this so seriously in the Victorian era that they literally built automated metal head measuring machines to analyze these bumps. Wild, right?
Then there was William Herbert Sheldon's somatology, which tried to link personality directly to body shape. He argued that quote-unquote endomorphs, people with rounder physiques, were naturally assertive and bold, while thinner ectomorphs were introverted and intellectual. So basically, just judging a book by its cover.
Fortunately, careful scientific research completely invalidated both phrenology and somatology. I mean, there is absolutely zero valid data connecting the bumps on your head or the shape of your body to your psychological traits. This total debunking forced the field to stop looking at the hardware and, well, look a little deeper.
Which brings us to Module 2, Core Processing, Freud's Psychodynamic Mind.
Sigmund Freud fundamentally shifted psychology toward the hidden systems in the mind. He conceptualized the mind exactly like an iceberg. Our conscious awareness, that's just the tiny tip visible above the water. Meanwhile, our most powerful motivations, our primal drives, and those painful childhood memories, they operate entirely underwater in the unconscious mind. They're basically pulling the strings without us even realizing it.
Freud saw personality as a constant, ongoing conflict between 3 subsystems. You have your primitive id, demanding instant gratification, kind of like a toddler. Then you have the moral superego, acting as strict societal rules. And caught right in the middle is the ego, the conscious decision-maker, desperately trying to negotiate between the two. Now, when these 3 clash, the resulting anxiety triggers defense mechanisms. Ever got an unfair grade and lashed out at your roommate instead of the professor? Yep. That's displacement, finding a safer target. Or maybe a highly stressed student starts sucking their thumb. That's regression. According to Freud, these are unconscious tricks we use to protect our self-image.
Freud also argued that personality develops through psychosexual stages in childhood, and that getting stuck or fixated in a stage secretly programs our adult behavior. Now, while these ideas absolutely shaped history, it's really vital to note that contemporary science provides very little evidence for these stages or mechanisms today.
Moving right along to Module 3, System Upgrades, Humanistic Views, and Self-Concept.
Psychology eventually evolved way past those dark, unconscious drives. Thinkers like Abraham Maslow introduced a hierarchy of needs, suggesting we're consciously driven to grow, from basic survival all the way up to reaching our full potential. This shift completely changes how we view ourselves. For instance, Tori Higgins' research shows we feel intense emotional distress when our self-concept doesn't match who we feel we ought to be. To counter this, Carl Rogers championed humanistic therapy. He relied on unconditional positive regard, which is basically offering a completely judgment-free environment to remove those limiting expectations and really help people thrive.
Next up is Module 4, Algorithmic Traits, the Big 5 Model.
Instead of looking at unmeasurable forces, modern psychology attempts to quantify personality into measurable data points called traits. This brings us to an incredibly powerful tool, the 5-factor model. Researchers took around 18,000 words used to describe people and mathematically crunched them down into just 5 fundamental dimensions. Just remember the acronym CANOE: conscientiousness, agreeableness, neuroticism, openness, and extroversion.
And these aren't just arbitrary labels. They actually predict real-world behavior. High extroversion means you naturally seek out positive emotions and social stimulation. On the flip side, individuals scoring high in neuroticism are statistically far more likely to interpret ordinary, everyday situations as highly threatening. That makes stress management much, much harder for them.
But what's truly fascinating here is that the Big Five isn't just some Western concept. The data shows incredible cross-platform compatibility. These exact same 5 factors have been identified globally, from China and Japan to Italy and Turkey. They even accurately predict job performance across different cultures. It's really a universal human framework.
Finally, we have Module 5, the source code, behavioral and molecular genetics.
We've reached the absolute deepest layer of our diagnostic, the biological code. By studying identical twins and adopted children, behavioral geneticists have unlocked the eternal nature versus nurture debate. They split personality variants into 2 buckets: heritability, which is the influence of your hardwired DNA, and non-shared environmental influences, those highly unique individual life experiences that make you different even from the sibling you grew up in the exact same house with.
Molecular genetics actually takes this a step further. Utilizing data from the Human Genome Project, researchers can literally pinpoint the locations of genes associated with certain traits. But, hey, here's the catch. They've found there is no single good personality gene. There's no magic switch. Your personality is actually the combined hum of thousands of tiny genes working together.
So genetics absolutely does not dictate your destiny. In fact, the data reveals that your DNA is not the major influence on who you are. The absolute largest impact actually comes from your non-shared environment. We're talking about the unpredictable, completely unique interactions, the friendships and the random experiences of your specific life.
So, diagnostic complete. As you can see, personality isn't just hardware, nor is it purely unconscious drives. It is a highly complex, continuously updating matrix. It's this beautiful, dynamic, lifelong interaction between the biological code you were born with and the constant, ever-changing input of your environment.
I'll leave you with this final system query. Looking at your own life and the situations you choose to engage in, how much of your behavioral code was hardwired for you, and how much of your source code are you actively writing yourself, right now? Keep exploring, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next Explainer.